Maurice Matsumori. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty daggum good. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for coming in, man. I really appreciate it. You and I met a few weeks back, and you mentioned that you run a couple podcasts, which is great because I don't meet a lot of people that do podcasts. And your podcasts are really wrapped around Stokemeter is one that you've had since 2019, which means you are an early adopter of the platform.
It's been fun. Yeah, no doubt about it. Matter of fact, the only reason that it started is because I love wakeboarding back in the day. And then I was geeking out because I invited the Oakley wakeboarding team to come to New York City. I lived in New York City for about a decade. And so I reached out and go, hey, would you like to come and film your next film in New York City? And they accepted. And so
that's awesome.
It was so fun. But the other thing too is when they showed up, we were riding on the Hudson River, on the East River, right in front of the Statue of Liberty. Amazing times, but then it opened up an avenue where now I had access to all of these professional athletes. And we started back then it was Ustream. So you could put on the screen and you would have them kind of like you do on Zoom today.
Yeah.
But then there was another thing that we used that it was a chat box that the audience can type in everything.
Because it was live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there was nothing like Facebook Live back then and anything like that. But then we had some people that I believe it was Grind TV that was associated with Yahoo at the time. They were watching us meticulously. We didn't know what we had at the time. And then all of a sudden, all these platforms, we started seeing the platform on ESPN, on some other channels. I go, I'll be daggum. They copied us, man.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, of course, I'm sure they're going to go, yeah, we didn't copy you. But I know that we had all their, I guess you could call them their reporters and folks that were in the area of sports watching that stuff. So it was neat to see that we were onto something, but because we didn't know what we had, we just kind of let it sit. And it did start in 2009. So we let it sit for another decade and then just picked it up, and it was no more just on athletes, but people that got us pretty amped or stoked, if you will.
Yeah. One of the interesting threads that runs through the people you talk to is, obviously people that are exciting, doing engaging things. And I had this experience recently with my sons, and they're really tall, and we initially got them into basketball. I've never been good at basketball. I played CYO for like one season, and they were like initially good at basketball, and they're just giant, right? They're like small, whiter shacks. They just stand and just grab it. And it would literally like, they just reach up to get a rebound and everybody's jumping. Right. Like they're like, oh, and they're just holding the ball. Like, what are all these people doing jumping at me? Like they're giants, right? But there was something about it where it's like, all right, they were into it and they liked it, but it wasn't like you would see other kids that were, smaller, didn't have the same kind of and they were just, into it. They were and their dads were into it, whatever it is. Yeah. And my sons were, again, unfortunately blessed with me as a father. I'm like, I don't know, like whatever. But they got into a different sport. They started playing water polo.
Oh, nice.
At the Y. And instantly it was like, oh, this is different. Now, mind you, they weren't like fantastic, like they're good in the water, but they weren't like crazy swimmers, all through, elementary school and stuff. But they would play until they hurt, and then they'd keep playing. And there was this aspect of like, okay, you're willing to suffer for this thing. And I could see that because they would go to like swim practice for an hour, and then they'd eat like a PB&J, and then they'd go to like water polo practice. And these are like 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds. I'm like, you're in the water for 3 hours, man. And then they didn't want to get out once practice was over. And you're like, so you knew they were paying a price. And I've always been interested with, how do people find the thing that they're willing to suffer for? Even if it's a fun pursuit, like wakeboarding, right? You become an incredible wakeboarder. You're paying a price to get good at that thing. Not just exhaustion, not just injury, not just, your day, but it's like you're trading your life potential for this one thing. And could be wakeboarding, could be, business, could be anything. But like, what was that with the people that you talk to?
So I'm going to give you an example of that one that just blew my mind, right? There was an individual that we interviewed named Jason Brown, and Jason was one of the highest paid linemen in the NFL. unbelievable guy. Played for the Ravens. I think that's where Harbaugh just stepped down in coaching. So he was his coach. And while he was thinking about it, so his brother was killed in a war, and he would wear his dog tags, and there was a bullet through that dog tag. So he said that when he felt that playing in the NFL, it reminded him of his brother. And as he was thinking about that, he thought about something that was a higher person than the NFL. I thought, you just made it to the NFL, man. That's pretty high. That's a high achievement. You gave everything you had to that. And you were saying there was another higher purpose than that because you were impacting people. And he goes, yeah, but it was impacting me. It was helping me feel good, but I didn't know what impact that I was having on other people. So then he had this feeling, thing, you got to give this up and go start yourself a farm. And I go, wait, you want to start a farm? And so what he did was he go, yeah. And I believe that we need to give all the things that we produce on that for free. So here you are making millions of dollars in an NFL, and this is the year before they go to the Super Bowl, and that's when they win it all. So he goes up to Coach Harbaugh and he goes, Coach, I need to leave. So think of this. One of the highest paid, I think at that time he was the highest paid NFL lineman. You can look him up again. It's Jason Brown. And he goes, you know what? I got to do it. And he goes, Coach Harbaugh, the way I'm looking at it, it's like when Noah in the Bible was on the ship and they knew they had to throw him overboard, and or else it's going to put this boat in danger. And so he goes, and so Coach Harbaugh goes, I guess I can't argue with that. And he left because the year after they won the Super Bowl. So he jumped ship, and then he was struggling because he knew nothing about farming.
Right.
And he bought I believe it was 1,500 acres. I'll have to.
He was growing like sweet potatoes and stuff.
Something
too, right?
like that. Yeah. And so all of a sudden he found this and he was grinding through this. But then he started to find the power in learning from other farmers that had been through it themselves. And then he started applying all those different things that he's learned from other people into this farm. And then it started producing. And then on top of that, then there were volunteers that came to this farm. And all of a sudden he started this mass movement of helping people by getting other people to help people that weren't forced to do it, is because they wanted to be there. And so he's created this amazing thing. Now, the other thing, his wife was a dentist and she gave it up too because she believed in that purpose as well. So to see someone that had achieved the highest level in athletics, and he could have gone on and made millions and millions of dollars, but he gave it up because he wanted to help other people. And so one of the things that I've seen in a lot of the interviewers that I've had there was that kind of scratchiness. They thought there's something else, and they were willing to go for it and give it up. And I wouldn't say it was reckless abandon. It was a calculated risk in some things. But as they started to labor like this Jason did, man, he really did give up a whole heck of a lot for seemingly something that would have had no return, but he went with a belief. And I know that's really kumbaya-ish, but what I found is that it's that inner belief and that inner drive to do something. And you were talking about do something that's hard, do something that's impossible, as one of your friends was mentioning last week. It's true. Think about it. He gave up so many things like that from the NFL to go do something as simple as helping others, and he wouldn't trade it for the world. And it was story after story like that. And that's why Stokemeter got its name initially, because it was wakeboarders that got me stoked. I'm stoked to be around these. And then you hear these stories and you realize there are so many stories of Stoke, is what I call them, that they are both inspirational, but they're really thought-provoking, and they help me to understand. And this is the selfish part of this, of the podcast that I do, is I learn so much from my guests that it's easy to stay enthused about that.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing.
you just brought something up that I've been wondering about for a long time.
Right.
And you talk about, his work in the NFL and he's inspiring people, but he's admitting, I don't know, because I'm just going to work every day, right? Keeping my head down. And there's this thread that I've been trying to tease out. I don't watch sports. I'm probably the only person who's never watched a BSU game. Like I don't, and like I'm happy that it's there, and I'm happy that people enjoy it. Like that's great. But for me, it's like my sons really like watching the Avengers movies,
right?
Because they like being hero adjacent.
Yes,
but they're looking out. Right. They're watching somebody else engage in this thing. And I'm not saying that like I've always philosophically had this position. I've just never been interested in watching somebody else's, heroic adventure.
Yeah.
I've always been very inwardly focused on getting to work, going to like understanding my place in the world. Yeah. And it sounds like, from this guy's position, he's like, listen, I'm not even looking out at other people. Like I am wholly invested in whatever my story is in that moment, be it professional athletics at the highest level, be it engaging in agriculture. It's almost like, and I know it's a flippant example, but it's almost like the scenes from Forrest Gump when he's like, he just starts running and then everybody else like jumps on board and he's like, whatever, man, like I'm just trying to run. Like, it's just like, you can come with me if you want. But like, was there consistently that inward focus on, it's like, I am on a journey. I'm on an adventure. Like the entertainment and the distracting from my journey, that's for other people. Yeah. And if people want to follow my journey, that's great. If they don't, that's great, because I'm not worried about what other people are doing or thinking. I'm focused on my heroic endeavor.
So there are those so-called heroic endeavors, but the other compelling piece of it, there were some people that had no clue what the heck they were supposed to do. There was another woman that we interviewed named Barbie the Welder. If you look up her stuff, it's unbelievable. And so what happened, she went through a lot of abuse. She went through a lot of other things from addiction. And so she was completely lost. And she didn't know what to do. She was in another abusive relationship, if I recall. And while she was pitying herself, and so again, no purpose whatsoever at this point in time, she was watching the movie Castaway. Is it Castaway where
Tom Hanks?
Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson, the volleyball. So that is a movie, right?
Yeah.
And she said that the thing that caught her wasn't the movie. It wasn't the rest of the story. It was seeing that there was a woman that was welding, and she was in the movie, and it struck her so severely she couldn't pay attention to the rest of the movie and thought, I wonder if I can do that. And then what happened is she just started getting some metal, and she started to dink around with welding. No experience whatsoever. But it impacted her so much that she started studying everything about welding. And if you could see some of her works of art right now, you'd be blown away. This is someone that had never welded in her life before. And here she was making these unbelievable works of art that have impacted people all over the world. And so she moved from a point of, I have no idea what the heck to do in my life, to watching a simple movie and getting that little, I'll call that scratchiness factor again. And she ran with it and didn't look back and put her whole heart into it. And I found that is another piece that comes into mind. There are those people that are driven, that they know, and then there's those that are blindsided, or they have no idea what to do. And this goes from Barbie the Welder to another woman who lost her husband, didn't know what to do. And so she picked up his power tools and started making things. Now she's one of the best at what she does, making stuff with her husband's power tools. Now she's sponsored and making a difference because she's a very prominent do-it-yourselfer. But again, never in a million years would I thought, this is the only way that I can remember my husband right now. He loved these tools. And because I loved him, I'm basically going to dink around with this. And she became unbelievably well-versed in those different things that now also help to inspire others. And so there's the common factor that I have seen. There's always some kind of pivot, and then it leads to their self-discovery. But then more importantly, then it leads to inspiring people all over the place. And that's the reason that I reached out to them, because I was so touched by their story. I found wherever it was that I could find their information and asked them if they would be on the show. Amazing. It's almost time and time again. It was always that discovery, if you will.
When you talk about a pivot, okay, there's another aspect of journeys that I've seen that where you have somebody that's either good at something or bad at something. It doesn't really matter, right? But all of a sudden they go into this area that's like totally novel. And again, as standard, like living a standard adult life, you don't engage in a lot of novelty, right? Like, like, I don't know if you play an instrument, you're like, man, I play the guitar, but I've been playing the guitar forever. Like you don't meet a lot of people our age that just pick up the guitar, right? Because we reduce down the number of engagements that we seriously interact with to a very small number by our age. And we generally only engage in things that we're good at. So we're not going and like becoming the white belt again and whatever it is. Like that's not the standard thing, right? Yeah. But if you can get yourself to do that, right, there's this interesting thing that I've seen again play out where because you're so bad at it, and because it's so novel and there are no expectations, there's no barometer that you have or gauge where you're like, I should stop doing this, because you have no expectations of your own capacity. You have no expectations of like, I should be better or I should be worse. And that allows you to engage in this pursuit in this very, like, yes, non-judgmental, but it's almost like this free way because you're not expecting anything out of it. You're not expecting skill. You're not expecting results. And it allows you to meddle around in this world. And as you do that, you can become something else, right? Like I have a dear friend who was working a very standard job, and his story is very interesting. His name's Tom.
Right.
And he was like, dude, I remember lying in bed staring at the ceiling. And he's like in his early 40s at this time. He's like, he's got a kid and he's staring up and he's like, all right, so let me get this right. I'm just going to stay at this job for like the next 20 or 30 years.
Right.
And then I'm going to retire and then I'm going to die. And like, that's it. And he was so upset by this. He had always, and again, he was like an accountant. I don't know what he was doing. It's just normal job.
Right.
And he had always wanted to be an artist. So he's like, he started getting up at 4 a.m. and going down into his basement and making art. He had no background in it. He had no reason to be doing it. He had no capacity. I talked to him 2 weeks ago. He did this for about 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And then all of a sudden somebody saw one of his pieces of art, and he was making some Disney art at the time. And they were like, who did that? And he was like, oh, that's mine. Within another year, he was a officially licensed Disney artist, and then started creating things that were going up in the Disney galleries for Disney collectors. Oh, and now he's starting a gallery for licensed Disney artists for non-Disney art. Because these artists become very well known for their Disney work, but they have these desires to create more than just Cruella de Vil. Right. And so he's starting this gallery for these people that found expression and then got, I don't want to say pigeonholed, but kind of got very well known for this one type of expression. But now it's like, let's make other stuff, right?
Yes.
But again, his expectation of himself, his what people thought he was going to be making, none of it factored in because he was just creating. And they're like, well, this isn't really the thing you do. So like anything you make is great. And that allowed him to continue down this path free of judgment or self-criticism. He's like, because the endeavor is the goal. Right. I like no one's expecting anything from me.
Yeah. There's actually a couple different things that I've found in my own life, but I'm gonna put it more storybook type of thing because of recent. So there are those folks in that self-discovery that are already experts, for instance. And so if you think of the Winter Olympics, was it Alyssa Liu? Is that she won the gold medal? She had retired from competition at a very, very young age.
Sure.
Then she came back and just absolutely kicked butt. And I can't remember if it was an interview or something, but it was something that she said, I wasn't skating for the gold medal. I was skating for myself, or something to that extent. There was no pressure. It wasn't chasing the gold. It was something that was meaningful and meant something to her, and have fun with it. And if you watched her program, you could see, there are those times that you see something so technical, it's just beautiful. This was something, as soon as she started skating, you just had to smile, because she was smiling. It was so contagious, and there was no stress in the way that she was performing. So that was one thing. She was chasing something for the sake of a medal or something that was external to her own self. And this is only my speculation. So I want to make that expressly clear, but it was just something that when she came back, she was much more committed in a way that was more purposeful.
Yes.
And again, this is just my own observation. However, then I go to my buddies that they founded this awesome Hawaiian restaurant, not restaurant, but you could call it fast food. It's called Mobetta's. And if you're anywhere around Utah, or
I was going to say,
Idaho,
where is it?
All over.
Where is it?
They're all over now.
Okay.
They started the same year that that my friend and I started the Stokemeter Podcast, and they've just went rocket ship. And so what happened was, they were content. So I went to school with them down at Brigham Young University in Hawaii. So the Hawaii campus was amazing. You got to meet people from all over the world. And Kimo Kalani Mac are their name. And they went to school, and then they got a bus driver job in Hawaii, which is a big deal, because at the end of that, you get a pretty good pension. It's very secure. And so it was a coveted position. They drove it for, I believe, 15 years, if I recall. And then they started getting that thing of, yeah, we're comfortable. We're going to be set. This isn't us. And so what they did is they sold everything in Hawaii and decided to move to Utah. And they put a list of 10 things that they wanted to pursue. And so they had, of course, very limited resources. And number 5 was start a restaurant. So think of this. They failed at the first 4 things, and they were on the 5th one.
Check. Cross that one out. Number 5.
Number 5. And then on top of that, they started the restaurant right when it went into a collapse. And so here's Mama's Recipes from Hawaii. If you haven't had Hawaiian food, please go and grab some great stuff. But what happened was, no one's coming to the restaurants because now it's an economic downturn. This is 2009,
10.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. So what they did is they started to go to the local high school, and they go, hey man, come on over. We'll give you a student discount. The kids loved it so much, they started taking some to their parents. Then their parents started coming in. It was a little restaurant. All of a sudden it was packed. And it was, back in the day, it was called Mobetta Steaks. I go, brothers, Mobetta Steaks, come on. That's and just from the name, I go, it's so Hawaiian, man. I don't know if it's going to resonate. Oh man, was I wrong? They were pumping, and they dropped the steaks. They just call it Mobettas, and all of a sudden, something that they believe that they needed to pursue, and this is number 5, and sometimes that's the way it goes, has now turned into 75 stores across the nation right now.
Wait, where's the closest one here?
The closest one here is going to be off of Eagle Road off the freeway, and then there's a couple in Meridian.
Dude, I'm going today.
I'm going today. There you go. And so when you see their story, again, here they are in a job that's very content, and would take care of them for the rest of their lives if they decided to retire. But they knew there was something else out there. Now, I'm not saying do everything in reckless abandon. I know I used that term a second ago, but the more important thing is, if you got something gut feel, man, you're going to regret it, is what I found in those interviews. But even with what I'm doing as well, it's just something just says that you got to go for it. And sometimes that's, the old Kenny Rogers song, Don't Fall in Love with the Dreamer, for instance. That's really, really, oh no, she believes in me. She believes in me. That's my wife, man. I've gone on my own endeavors. It's not hard. I mean, it is hard. I take that back. It is extremely difficult to back someone like that, especially as they're chasing something that supposedly puts someone at risk. But there is that degree of risk that has led to a lot of the success that friends have been having, but also just a mental clarity that I can't explain unless you've actually been there and done that. So
that anxiety that you get when you first start, though, because it's easy.
Yep.
Like, it's easy to be like, hey, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what feels worse, not right. Going out and trying to do some random thing that nobody believes in, right? Like, there's that. I think when you talk to people like yourself that are successful in their endeavors, and they're like, hey man, there was something better, like, and there was this adventure that I wanted to go on, there was this thing. And it's like, okay, great. That works for you because it worked for you. Right? There are plenty of people that, go out and try to do their own thing.
Yep.
Crash and burn. They don't get back on the horse that one last time, and they're like, man, I shot and I missed.
Yep.
And it's over, right? Like, I'm not trying again. Those people are not the ones coming forth being like, yeah, but it was great. Like, that was a fantastic time. They get their hands burned, right? So you have this kind of problem with everybody who's going to advocate for taking the shot.
Yep.
They're necessarily the people that were successful and hit the target eventually, right?
Yes.
And in retrospect, they're like, oh yeah, it was really scary, but like, it was worth it. It's like, yeah, but that's because it worked. What about all those people that didn't make it?
Well, and let me clarify too. I'm still getting my butt kicked. I mean, it's sometimes it's the pounding the doors. You're looking for investors. You're doing all these different things. And then it's like, hey, we're ready to go. And you're ready to close the signing for the funds. And all of a sudden it's like, psych. We've had that over and over and over again. That's what we're going through right now. But the thing is, it's something that we believe in. And one of the other things that I've found is it leads to other opportunities. And this is what's blowing my mind. I'm not where I want to be from that success level yet. And I use yet as a very cautious word, I guess. But more importantly, it has opened up. We went down one arena and all of a sudden there were other opportunities in those discussions. I thought, we didn't even consider that, man. And all of a sudden, those things are slowly getting traction. And so what I've observed is that if you believe in something, it's not always going to be easy and you will get your butt kicked. There is no doubt about it. Just like I am right now. What has been amazing to see, though, is the other doors that open up. And that if we hadn't been in that duress or in that pickle, we wouldn't have been open to hearing some of those things, if that makes sense.
Listen, you don't have to, like, this is that sentiment of like, you don't know what the benefit will be.
Yeah.
Is one, I have a dear friend, Alexis, and she's got a podcast, and I help her. I met her in the end of 23, and she came on the show, and I had gotten introduced to her because somebody was like, hey, there's this gal doing this podcast about education in Idaho. I'm like, I would love to hear this. Yeah. And again, like, I'm pretty critical of podcasts. Like, I don't, if you want space in my head, like, you got to have high quality something, right? Because I've heard a lot of, I'm like, I'm not. Because from a technical standpoint, people are like, I can put a podcast together. Like, you can put a cake together. You need some like cake and you need some, whatever, frosting, whatever. Same thing with, like, you've had great cakes, you've had terrible cakes. And for this podcast, I'm like, all right. So I turn it on, and it's just this solo episode of her explaining what the structure of the Idaho education system is, right? So we have a state education board. They're all appointed except for State Superintendent Debbie Critchfield. She gets a position in it, but she's an elected, like all these different things.
Right.
And I was listening to it, and this woman's doing a great job. It's audio only. And so I'm listening to it, I'm like, this is great. I'm waiting in line to pick up my kid, and I almost want to start taking notes. I'm like, wait, hang on. And I immediately get a hold of her. I was like, will you come on my show? Because I'd like to hear more about this. So she comes on, sparks up a friendship. And for both of us in the ensuing years, there were times when both of us thought about, what am I doing? Because I have a show, obviously you're on it. She has a show, and she's also a PhD candidate. She's got a family, 4 kids, all these different things. She's like, is this doing anything? Like, is this really worth it? And we always remind each other, and it's like, listen, you never know what's going to happen from this thing.
Yeah.
Because we generally, the barometer of success, let's say in podcasts, the barometer of success really is like, did you eventually make money? Yeah. Right. And by the way, no one ever makes money, right? Like, that's the joke. People are like, we know people make money somewhere, right? But it's like, to know somebody who's actually a professional running a professional podcast, it's like, who are those people? They're unicorns. Like, I know one guy who knows somebody who does it, and he started it. I think it was like 15, 16 years ago. And it was about a worldwide topic about mind, body, fitness, so it was like a very relatable topic. It's something that, really doesn't know borders. And it's, obviously you have 15 years going after, right?
Yep.
Anyway, the point is, like, it's never ceased to amaze me that it's like, listen, broaden your perspective of success on your endeavor. Perhaps success isn't you make a dump truck. Perhaps success is you meet your next great business partner.
Yeah.
Would you say, like, hey, I met Maurice. He and I were going to do a deal. And you know what? The deal fell through. But Maurice and I, dude, we went on to do crazy things. Would you categorize the initial deal with the express purpose of making money that you didn't make money on? Would you express that as a failure if you got this whole other future, right? And people are stuck in that one paradigm of like, I have 1 or 2 metrics that success fall into, and any benefit out of that is still not considered success.
Oh no, I've seen it over and over. All you have to do is look in the corporate America right now. There are so many people. I was there, Wall Street, everywhere else you can imagine on both coasts. I take that back, right in the West, almost to the other coast. And then travel all the world, love that stuff. It was a blast, but ultimately they call it golden handcuffs for a reason, right? It really is. I know friends that they literally have 900 hours of unused vacation time. And I go, what? Your house is paid off. You got a lot of money stored up. What are you doing? I go, what are you doing? And you know what? Teach their own. I think that's a fabulous thing. But I also understand the stress and other duress, the time away from family, time away from everything. And let's face it, every worthwhile endeavor, there are going to be those times that it takes you away from those precious moments too. But I've seen it on such a scale as of late, especially now, in the era of social media and everything. You could just tell there's so many of my friends that are just pounded, just absolutely pounded. I go, what are you doing? And they look at me and I go, you're a struggling entrepreneur, man. I go, yeah, I am. We're still making it. We're still making it. And this will resonate with some. Some people will just say, that's bogus. But what I have found is there's a degree of satisfaction that comes from pursuing different things. They still provide, but at the same time, the impact. So we go back to the podcast when you were saying how many people are paid on that. I've been doing this for over a decade now. I haven't been paid, but the connections that led to some of my endeavors, that led to more success, but also more importantly, connecting friends with other connections has been unbelievably rewarding. They piggyback off of each other. And so success begets success because of those connections. And what I've seen in those arenas have led to multiple businesses forming because it was as simple as I want to talk to someone that gets me stoked that I believe in what they're saying and what their story, and then connecting those with other folks. That's been incredibly rewarding, and also has led to sustaining a lot of the things that I'm doing today.
Dude, I have a very good friend by the name of Max, and he's got this product that he's coming out, and we both went to Cal together. We're on the rowing team together. He's one of my longest and dearest friends. Yeah. And he left. I started a tutoring business, and I was like very good at self-structuring by the end of college. And he was a little bit less. So incredible engine and capacity, just wasn't really good at like sitting himself down and doing work, right? And he went off and he joined the Marines, did 4 years in the Marines, came out, then had much more structure, even more horsepower, which was amazing. Right. Went on to get his MBA, and he was initially working for a lot of corporate America, but he always had this itch, right? He's always been like, it's just not quite right. And so he came up with an idea initially to do stock freezing, right? So anyway, he was big into making like long meats and making his own chicken stock and things of that nature. And this was a growing trend, right? So he looked at it and he was like, hey, the problem is when most people do stocks, they do like either you get like a big Ziploc bag and you just freeze it, right, or you freeze it into ice cubes, but recipes ask for discrete amounts, like 1 cup, 2 cup, 3 cup. He's like, there should be a freezer apparatus that allows you to freeze cups or like 2 cups or quarts or something of this. And you'd have these big chunks, right? So he makes this one product and he's like prototyping it, and then it goes on Shark Tank. Somebody has it. It was not him. Somebody else came up with one on Shark Tank. He's like, that's my idea. And he called it the Stoctagon because he essentially made octagon style cylinders. And the other person had square. So it was like this whole, but he was like, so he missed that one, right? He was like, dang it, man. Yeah. Came up with another idea that he actually brought to market, which is incredible, called the Woolly Bully. So you know the Weber kettles? Weber kettle cooktops, everybody burns themselves on them. And they're not very insulated. The reason the green egg took off is because you could get it to much higher temperatures and you could touch the outside, right? Now, mind you, the green eggs are like $1,500. The Weber kettle's $200. So he makes this product. You can buy it right now. It's called the Woolly Bully. And it's this product that sits on top and it's like 1.5 inches thick. It's waterproof. It's temperature proof. It insulates. So you can get the Weber kettle up to higher temperatures and you're not going to burn yourself and you save on fuel because you're not leaking all this fuel out. So, and he, again, like people get him, they're like, this is incredible. So he's got that, but he has one more that's coming out that he's taken him like 3 years to like get this product, and he's right there. But he and I, over the last several years, as I'm growing this and he's growing his individual projects, we would come to each other at times and, get on the phone and be like, oh my God, I just got like my ass kicked. This is terrible. Like this happened or that happened. And everything we were saying was true. Like there have been many times when we have just been like, oh my gosh, like I just got obliterated. And it's just like all these setbacks, but we also started celebrating these small wins, and not just like a small win, but where it's like, okay, that was a win. I would literally get on the phone with him and it would be, I don't know, 6:30 in the morning, 7 in the morning. I'm driving down here, or I'm going somewhere. And I was like, you know what, man? Dude, like our families are still solvent, right? Like our kids ate dinner last night. He's got 4 boys. It's like our wives, haven't left us. Like we are marching forward in this insane struggle of a life, but we haven't lost it yet, right? Like we are still moving forward. And like, who knows what it'll be when we're 60? Yeah. Maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing, but you're not going to say that we got knocked out yet. Like we're still standing today, so when your friends are like, you're a struggling entrepreneur, it's like, but I'm still an entrepreneur. Right. Like I'm still in the ring. I'm still throwing punches. I get hit a lot, but I land a couple. Right. Yeah. And it's like, it's that endeavor forward where it's like, I'm still here though, right? I haven't stopped. Right. And you bring a very important point about pressing forward. It is so easy to stop when everything's not going your way. It's like, bag this. I'm so done. I can't tell you how many times I've gone through that cycle. Yeah. But at the same time, it's when something, just a little win, it's like, oh yeah, it makes it all worth it. Tiny win. Yeah, even if it's minuscule, it's just so
it's man, how would what would I equate that to? It's like you're hungry, and you have a peanut, and it's just so satisfying.
But I have a peanut.
I have a peanut, and it's so much more savory, if you will, those little things, and it fuels you more than a cheeseburger, if you will, because it was, I got that little nugget, man. Let's go. I know that this is there. And it might be something that that most people will say, are you nuts? I'd rather have that cheeseburger. But at the same time, it's so rewarding. I can't explain it, but you get it. I know that you've been there in that same thing, but it really is about moving forward. And as soon as you stop moving forward, and as soon as you stop trying to get to the next level,
I deeply appreciate that. So I've been struggling with this for like 10 years because there's a value proposition to artificially inserting scarcity into your own life. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I realized it when I had little kids, right? You could put one pea on the tray. Yeah. They're in a high chair, right? One pea on the tray, they might eat the pea. You put 1,000 peas are everywhere. Yeah. They don't care about anything. They're like, whatever, because there's no value when there's a lot of it. Yeah. Right. Another friend from college, Marcel, he was a German guy and he would big into cycling. And he would go on these cycling trips where he'd leave Berkeley when we were living there. Right. He'd ride over the Berkeley hills. He'd ride out to this mountain called Mount Diablo. He'd ride up Mount Diablo, back down, and then he was come back. And the kicker is you have to get back over the hills. So you're like 7 miles from home, but you got to climb the hills. Yes. And it would be like raining. And he's got nothing left in his tank. And he would have to stop halfway up. And he's just buckled over. It's because this is like an 80-mile ride. Yeah. And you're summiting a mountain and all the, and he would get home eventually, and he's like, what it would feel like to take a shower, get some water, and lie down in bed. He's like, that sensation was so much. Now, when you and I, I took a shower, like I lie down in bed, like, it's a hard day, and like I'm really happy, but like it's this scarcity thing of like, to strip everything away. Yep. And then when you're given something that you take for granted, you appreciate it way more. The question that I've been struggling with for 10 years is like, okay, if I know scarcity in my own life as an adult is directly correlated to higher appreciation for the things I have. Yeah. Do I artificially restrict things in my life so I appreciate them more? Do you give yourself less food? Yeah. Do you give yourself less sleep? So when you sleep and you're like, do you like, obviously we're in professional pursuits. Right. Do you make scarcity within your financial system? So when you make a buck, you're like, I did it. Oh my God, I made $1. Like how do you flirt with inserting artificial scarcity into your own life just because spiritually, like you'll appreciate it so much more?
So there's something that my parents taught me that was very important. So both my parents were in World War II. My mom was, by that time she was about an 8-year-old girl in Japan. And so that's one thing. My dad, his family had immigrated to the States, but it was during the internment camp days in World War II. No. But my dad was quite a bit older than my mom. And so he said, bag this crud. I want to show exactly what kind of patriot I am. I want to go fight for the States in Germany, get our butts kicked. He fought at the Battle of Bulge. He fought at the Battle of Lost Battalion, all those different things like that. And in one case, there were significant casualty rates. I want to say it was 80% casualty rates. And the way that it happened was he was running alongside with his friend, and all of a sudden his friend literally just inches away gets wiped out. And he did that because there was a belief, I have something to show that I have a direct loyalty to the U.S. and I'm willing to put it all in here. So their motto for it was called the 442nd Regiment in the Army. Still to this day, it's the most, if I heard, from last I heard, it was still the most decorated Army unit. And their motto was go for broke. And so go for broke basically means if you're at the table of gambling, you put it all on the table, you're going for broke. And he would never let me waste food. ever. He was stuck in a foxhole for weeks at a time. And I mean, literally weeks at a time. My mom told me this a couple months back. I had no idea that was the case. They were looked at as expendable, but they didn't care about that. They had something that was much higher by way of purpose. This is for my family. This is for my country. This is for a lot of other things. And of course, they didn't have a lot of food. Rations started running out and such. And especially if you're in a foxhole, he made me appreciate everything. Even in the midst of scarcity, he would make me appreciate everything. And when I say make, he showed me why I should appreciate what we had. And I didn't get it till a little bit later. Now let's move over to my mom. My mom is in Niigata, Japan. This is where all the rice production is, and the best rice in Japan comes from that area. Well, they're getting bombarded out there, and all she lived on was squash. That's the only thing they had. Didn't have the rice. They didn't have all the other staples. It was squash. She can't eat squash to this day. But regardless of that, it kept her alive, and she appreciated that. Even though she can't eat it to this day, it's just something that she appreciated because it was sustenance. It was something that gave her the ability to go the next day. And this is a kid, man. This is a single digit in age kid that is start realizing this. Well, anyway, fast forward to when they have me, I go, hey, don't waste food. Don't do this. And this is why. And so even though there's that little bit of scarcity, the other thing that they taught me was abundance for your family. And that was you give everything to them so that it's the best possible thing to build the memories that you could take with you later. And so maybe there were those times that maybe we didn't have all the money in the world. I wouldn't have known that. I was at a vacation every year, and we had a farm back then. I would have never known anything of it. Were we the average American? Yeah, we're average American family. You wouldn't have known that though from the things that they did for us. So even though things might have been scarce, that abundance mentality was very prevalent, and it made me appreciate what they were teaching me about not wasting, because that came from a mindset of scarcity. But at the same time, going from your analogy of the pea to thousands of peas, now they showed me what you could actually do with those thousands of peas, right? You can actually share them with your friends. You could share them with everyone else and make everyone else enjoy that. And so as a result, we had parties at the house and everything like this that showed me what happens when you start to share, it comes back. And so, yes, I think scarcity is a good thing because it helps us to really appreciate what we have, but we can't sit there in that scarcity mentality where it is paralyzing us to have abundance by way of whether that from a mental state or to helping other people to grow and progress, and even helping our I know misers. I know people that are making hundreds of millions of dollars that they won't spend it on themselves as well. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. But yes, I think, and this, again, my own opinion, I'll make that clarification. Scarcity is a good thing to help you appreciate the things that you have, but you can't sit in the scarcity mindset and mize away all the amazing things that you could do for yourself by way of growth and for other people. That's just my take.
when you talk about abundance for the family, this is another thing that I've thought about a lot. There's this kid that I don't want to call him a kid. The guy interviewed. He was like 28. I don't interview a lot of people that are 20s, right? A really cool guy lives in Meridian. He had a podcast, invited me on a show, and then I invited him on mine. And one thing that I gleaned from him, and he'd been very successful in insurance earlier in life, and the biggest thing I took away from talking to him is that his position was, my family doesn't pay for my career. And I was like, interesting. Now, again, still very young family. I think it's, again, that's this is a difficult thing. You got to do what you got to do.
Right.
But for instance, you were asking me when you came in, it's like, when do you do the editing? It's like, well, I get up at 4 or 5, whenever, however much I got to get done. I get it done. And then I come to the interviews. But that's because at 5 o'clock, I'm either at home or I'm on my way home.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if I've put in, it does, like, whatever needs to happen. It's like, if I didn't get it done by that point, well, you're getting up at 3:30 then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not my kids' fault that I have these, that I'm on this journey. It's not my wife's fault that I've got this endeavor. Like, it's nobody, and it's not even a fault, but it's also not their responsibility. It's my responsibility. You know what I told somebody the other day? This lady was on point too. I was kind of chatting with her about some of these things. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Been up since 4. And she's like, that's nobody's fault but your own. I'm like, okay. She's like, if you don't like that, you need to get an assistant. You need to get something. I was like, okay, I appreciate the sentiment. Can you be a little bit more gentle right now? Like, I'm pretty tired. She's like, that's your fault for being tired. I was like, you are a hard lady. But again, I think there are a lot of adults that get sucked into, and I have friends and family members that get sucked into this thing where they're like, oh, it's this obligation. I got to do these things. It's like, dude, and that's fine. Yeah. But at the same time, what are you in it for?
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have abundance with your family, it is a balance. You never want to see somebody sacrifice, have more to give and then not provide for their family. It's just like, you provide no matter what you got to do. But if it's a question of more sleep or more time with my kids, man, I'll run off 5 hours of sleep, just extra coffee. I got multiple on the table here. I don't care, because it's my, son's birthday today, and I'm going to be home with In-N-Out 5 o'clock, and we're going to be watching, movies and sitting on the couch. That's the way. Oh, I'm also getting Mobetas, but it's got to be off. It's got to be near In-N-Out too. If it's off Eagle, I got to swing by on the way home and get that.
Yep.
I'll do both. I'll get In-N-Out and that.
Yeah. Right off the freeway. You come up, it's right. You know where Ling and Louise is? Right there?
Yeah.
Right there. It's right there.
A full send. I'm stuffing myself tonight. I'm so excited. Yeah. Was that a struggle for you when you are engaged in your entrepreneurial pursuits to have this abundance for your family and be living in this dog eat dog world that is the free market?
It was when we first started, because
Maurice, you keep moving away from the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Microphone,
I'm getting back.
Come on. The people want to hear from you.
I'm getting comfy over there.
You can take the mic
there
with you.
Go.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
No. So when we were first starting out, 100%, because there's that, what's that word I'm looking for? You're scared there. You don't know how you're going to provide. You don't. So all of these little fears were they were excruciating. I got to go do this. I got to travel here, there, everywhere. And I'll never forget it. I was gone from home for 9 days. And this is, I was in DC doing some work for some big auto firms down there. And my daughter called. And at the time she would have been 8 years old. And she called me crying hysterically, going, "You're never coming home. You're never coming home. I miss you. Is anything happening to you?" I mean, it was enough to make me go, "Oh crap." I was just obliterated. Here I am, because I'm on this entrepreneurial endeavor. I need to be here. I need to be away from my family for this amount of time. I missed their games. I missed their events, their recitals. I missed all of that in that 9-day period. And she was flipping out. And then that's when I had my up it moment. Up this, man. and then I started to plan it around what was important to them. And if I couldn't make it, I would explain the reason why. And we come to an agreement type of thing. But it would never go multiples, if you will. Just, okay, I'm going to be there, but I'm not. That kind of thing. And I know, again, this is just me. I know there's so many people that out of necessity have to do that, right? I didn't have to do that. And as a result of that, we've had so many great, rich experiences. And once I had that up it moment, it made all the difference in the world, because there are those things that are highest priorities. And if you make those highest priorities, the truly highest priorities, the rewards have been amazing as a family. And it's, again, not negating everything that everyone else does to make things happen for theirs, because that's coming from a necessity. But looking back at where I became desperate to become a successful entrepreneur, sometimes it was at the sacrifice of something that shouldn't have been at the middle of the sacrifice. And so, yeah, I know I went all over the place with that, but
No.
hopefully it gets to the point of the question.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Like I'm again, believe it or not, my son is having a birthday today. Like that's
awesome. So that's legit.
That's actually true. So I'm going to In-N-Out tonight to pick up. And I was chatting with my wife before I left. She's like, okay, where's your last appointment today? Cause I got a coffee meeting too. She's like, okay, where's the coffee meeting? Like who's closer to In-N-Out? We'll swing down, pick it up. And very unfortunately, my son's sick too. So she's like, okay, well, like hang on. Cause he's probably staying home from school, but let's see how he's feeling in the afternoon. Cause then maybe we'll just punt it to tomorrow.
Yeah.
But like I have a trip. I'm going to DC on Sunday, right? And I have these things that I'm doing this coming week. So when you're like, oh, I'm gone, and I had other engagements lined up for Saturday too, and I wasn't happy about it. But at some point last week, I was like, I can't do this. Like I'm about to be gone for 6 days.
Yep.
I hate being away from my family. Like I get, especially when I'm working as much as I am now, I get very blue. And then I have these up moments where I'm like, I don't care. This is terrible. And like I had this moment last fall at one point. I was doing all these local election interviews. So interviewing everybody from like Nampa, Caldwell, like all these spots. And I called a friend of mine who's also an entrepreneur, and I tell her what's going on. And, she really helps me realize. She's like, look, you don't hate what you're doing. You love what you're doing.
Yeah.
You just are lacking balance, and you're blaming the pursuit. What you should blame is your lack of structure, and that you're not sleeping, and you're not working out, and you're not eating properly, and you're not seeing your family. That's what you hate.
Yep.
The going to do the interviews, you love that. I'm like, okay, you're actually right. But it is this, sacrificing one thing and then everything falls apart, and then you're blaming various things. It's like, get it together, man. Because if you have your family and you have, these things that you need, none of it matters, right?
Yeah. There's something that hit me years ago. This is back in the 90s, and this is before I was married. And I remember thinking, how do I make use of my life? And there's a prism, right? And the light goes through the prism, and RGB, red, green, blues, right? All of a sudden, those acronyms, the RGB, turned into roles, goals, and balance for me. And so essentially the roles are who I would be for myself. And that would be a husband, a father, a contributing member to society, that kind of thing like that. But then the balance part of it, the goals that are associated with it, so the GB was, what is it that I need to do from physical, mental, spiritual, emotional standpoint too? That is the thing that what they've equated it to nowadays. I wish I would have thought about making a book back then, but putting your mask on first. You know how they say in the airplane, put your mask on first so you can help others. And I found that if you are very deliberate about making time for yourself, and that's what I usually do that in the morning, and then you are deliberate about the roles that you have during the day. So have I made my wife happy? Have I ensured her needs are met? Is what, matter of fact, it was a talk that I heard, that it was an interview before God is what it was. And it goes, they said that, have you been anxiously engaged in making her happy and ensuring her needs are met? How is your relationship with each child? Have you been contributing in a positive fashion to your community, state, country, and world? That kind of stuff there. Started thinking, let me try that, and I'll be dadgum if it didn't work, man. Because then you're given even if it's only a couple minutes a day, you're giving something to what's important to your own development, but also to the relationships that mean so much to you. And that's what I utilize as my measurement for when I need to say up it. I'm done with this. And you can't use that too much. The up it things, you can't use that as an excuse for not getting your responsibilities done, for sure. But if it starts to mess with those areas, it's probably a worthy up it, is what I found. So
God bless it. Maurice, you are a gem, my guy. My goodness. I was looking forward to this show. I didn't know it was going to be like this. It's fantastic. Listen, we've been going for well over an hour. Believe it or not.
Dang, that's all.
Dude, we're flying through. I feel like we just scratched the surface. Would you be willing to come back and do like round 2? Like, let's connect over the summer or something. Cause I love this stuff. Cause I'm always, you know what this is like? I had like a small men's group when I was back in my former life, and I found it in 21 right at the beginning, and it really, God bless it, man. Like it helped me through that time frame. And I moved up here, and I was like, all right, I got to find like a group to like talk to people, like glean insights from there, and like share things. And man, I haven't found anything. But talking to you today is like the closest I've gotten getting insights. Like, because again, it's just the life is just this hot mess, you know, like entrepreneurship. If you're doing it, it's a hot mess. Like raising a family properly is a hot mess. Like it's all just this mess of in and out and like early mornings and caffeine and, you know, like blurry dreams that it's just like, I think I can get there. And I so appreciate your thoughts on this and all the stuff you bring.
I appreciate you having me. This has been a blast and look forward to it again, man.
Yeah, man. We'll do it again. Thanks for coming in, and let's connect over like June or something.
That's great.
Perfect. Thanks, sir.